The man turns out to be Osama bin Laden's driver, Salim Hamdan. He will later give up important information about his employer's movements and associates.
There were important documents that were captured related to terrorist attacks that were being planned. Those helped us neutralize those attacks.
Jawbreaker personnel also interview captured al-Qaeda fighters in prisons.
They were looking for intelligence about Osama bin Laden's location, about the locations of other al-Qaeda leadership, about how al-Qaeda was organized.
As the northern city of Mazar-e-Sharif falls in November 2001, CIA Jawbreaker members Mike Spann and Dave Tyson go into the Kali Jangi fortress to conduct interrogations.
Mike Spann was going through the prisoners, trying to identify individuals that might be willing to talk to us and share intelligence.
As Spann and Tyson question Arab fighters, a prisoner suddenly detonates a grenade. Before Tyson and Spann know what's happening, rows of prisoners in the yard rise to their feet and charge them.
When the shooting started, Dave and Mike were separated by about 20 or 30 meters. Mike Spann was immediately by the Arabs.
As Tyson fires round after round into the oncoming attackers, he loses sight of Spann. Out of ammunition and about to be overwhelmed, Tyson runs for his life as the prisoners overrun the fortress and quickly break into its armory.
I can remember mortar rounds come down and just being pelted by mortar shrapnel. I'm like, they're firing mortars. They were firing rockets, and there were small arms and machine gun fire. I mean, they really outnumbered their guards, like 5 or 6 to 1.
Reinforcements arrive, and the battle rages for 5 days. Mike Spann's body is finally found with 2 bullets to the head.
He was a very, very brave young man. Took a lot of risks for his country, and, sadly lost his life, paid the ultimate price.
86 Taliban and al-Qaeda fighters finally surrender. The captured fighters are interrogated by the CIA. Soon after, Osama bin Laden's location is identified.
Bin Laden had been in the capital area. We actually tracked him down the road from Kabul to Jalalabad. We pursued, and then he fled from Jalalabad down to Tora Bora.
The CIA now has bin Laden cornered in the Tora Bora mountains of eastern Afghanistan. The next plan to kill him will use state-of-the-art weapons, including the biggest conventional bomb in the world. In December 2001, intelligence reveals that Osama bin Laden and up to 1,000 al-Qaeda fighters are hiding in deep caves in the Tora Bora mountains. With peaks rising to 14,000 feet, the caves are almost impregnable to attack.
They were a fortified mountain fortress. They were very, very large, some of them. I knew that he had a lot of facilities there.
The caves evolved naturally over centuries, carved out by underground rivers eroding the porous rock. Then in the 1980s, they were widened and fortified, used by the Mujahideen during the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan.
It would be difficult for us to conduct a frontal assault because it was so steep. It was very difficult terrain, it was very cold, and he knew the ground very, very well.
With the Bush administration reluctant to risk American lives, another approach is called for. The next plan involves using a bomb, first used in the 1970s in the jungles of Vietnam. Called the Blue 82, it's bigger than a Volkswagen Beetle and creates one of the biggest non-nuclear blasts on the planet. The Blue 82 is known as the Daisy Cutter for its ability to flatten forests into helicopter landing sites.
The Daisy Cutter has about a 600-yard radius for its blast, so it's pretty big.
It's dropped by a large transport aircraft because at 7.5 tons, it's the heaviest bomb in the U.S. arsenal.
It's pushed out the back and it falls to the ground via a parachute in order to give it time for the C-130 to get out of the airspace.
The Blue 82 is 12 feet long and 6 feet wide. Its 15,000 pounds of explosives are a mixture of ammonium nitrate and aluminum. It's detonated by a long fuse extender that sets off the explosion just above the ground.
Imagine a room where all the air is sucked out and then immediately rushed back in. That's going to have devastating effects on anyone that's in that space. It's going to result in a quick incineration of everything. When it sucks all the air out, it's going to suck out eyeballs and innards and things like that too.
The devastating consequences of the Blue 82 are about to be used against Osama bin Laden and up to 1,000 al-Qaeda fighters. The CIA pays local spies for some crucial information.
We were aware of the fact that bin Laden was short on supplies. We allowed water and food to go up there to identify his location. He was delivered the food and the water. We came in right behind it with the Daisy Cutter.
The Delta Force commander at Tora Bora uses the pseudonym Dalton Fury. For security reasons, he doesn't want to be identified.
We actually woke up the morning of the 9th, just as the sun came up, and saw the aircraft overhead. C-130 pushed out the Volkswagen-sized bomb with a GPS sensor on it.
The biggest non-nuclear bomb in the world is on its way to bin Laden.
Bomb struck a valley maybe 4 or 5 miles from where we were standing.
Fury is monitoring al-Qaeda communications over the radio when he hears a distinctive voice.
We started hearing exact communications from Osama bin Laden. His talk was labored, his speech was labored. He was less flowing with the Quran phrases. It was more like he was speaking in desperation.
I believe he was injured when we dropped that Blue 82.
Bin Laden narrowly escapes again. He will later claim that he relied on a premonition in a dream to change caves minutes before the blast, but many of his followers aren't so fortunate.
It certainly killed dozens, if not hundreds, of al-Qaeda fighters up in that one major valley.
With bin Laden believed to be injured, Bernsen moves quickly to maximize his advantage. For the first time in his career, he acts without permission and calls in bombers to unleash one of the most extensive aerial bombardments of the Afghanistan campaign.
We conducted 56 hours of airstrikes against bin Laden and al-Qaeda down on that ground, and it was savage. B-52s, B-1s, everything in the U.S. arsenal came in there and hammered them.
As the bombs rain down, Bernsen receives a call from his superiors at the CIA.
They asked me, "Are you conducting a major battle in Tora Bora?" And I said, "Yes." He said, "Outstanding. Congratulations. You've got him in there, pinned in there." That was the opening round of the Battle of Tora Bora.
Bin Laden is now trapped and possibly injured. The damage caused by the bombing has laid the groundwork for the next assault, conducted by some of the most highly trained soldiers in the world. It's December 2001. After 6 days of blanket bombing, the CIA has bin Laden cornered in the Tora Bora Mountains. This is the closest they are to getting their man since the hunt began some 4 years earlier. Hundreds of his fighters are killed, and reportedly, the al-Qaeda leader is injured.
I wrote a message to Washington saying that we have bin Laden here. Let's kill this baby in the crib now.
CIA jawbreaker leader Gary Bernsen orders a 40-man Delta Force, the elite of the elite special forces, to make the assault.
The Delta Force guys are big, tough, hard men. They're professional soldiers. Very, very competent guys. Very, very brave guys. Probably the best 40 guys we have in the U.S. government.
Their 36-year-old commander calls himself Dalton Fury to protect his identity.
He comes to my location. I told him, I'm here to support you completely, and our goal is to kill every single member of Al-Qaeda up in Tora Bora.
The guy was full of vigor, very motivated. It was obvious the guy bled red, white, and blue. Our orders were pretty clear. It was kill or capture Osama bin Laden and bring back proof. Go kill as many as you can.
The men are under orders from the commander of U.S. forces, General Tommy Franks, not to risk American lives. The battle has to be fought by a hired local army.
I have assembled a force with 3 warlords. Got a couple thousand of them. We call it the Army of the Eastern Alliance, is what I built. I paid for that. Several $1 million.
The Pashtun fighters are mercenaries, and their loyalty is soon questioned.
They subcontracted the job to a man named Hazrat Ali and another Afghan. And Gary sent the names back to CIA to do name traces to see what we knew about these fellas. And both of them had fought alongside of Osama bin Laden against the Soviets. The military said, no, we don't want to send our own soldiers in, we're going to use these guys.
To make matters worse, Bernson is once again denied manpower. He's ordered to conduct the battle with only a handful of Special Forces soldiers.
I am disappointed that they're only going to give us 40, but I continually ask for more people. Ultimately, I'm told I'm going to be replaced. I took that to mean that they didn't want any more complaints.
With the hired Afghan army now on board, Fury focuses on a battle plan.
We're roughly 16 miles from the Pakistani border, which is just south here on this dark line. And the main battlefield is basically defined by the Agam Valley, this valley here, and east of the Wazir Valley here. And we're looking at about a 10 by 10 kilometer battlefield where Al-Qaeda had their forces at. And we believe bin Laden was located right here on top 2685. It left us with one route, basically a frontal assault coming from the north against Al-Qaeda's prepared positions.
The Delta Force men wear clothes that blend in with their Afghan allies. But unlike their allies, they are equipped with state-of-the-art weaponry.
And Delta commonly has used as their primary weapon the M4 assault rifle.
This weapon here is the M4 carbine rifle. Operators like this weapon system because it's easy to shoot. The ability to be able to put 30 rounds on target very quickly is very easy for them to do.
The rifle is equipped with a variety of holographic sights that marks the target with a distinctive red dot.
Allows the operator to snap the gun up and be able to engage the target extremely fast.
It's important that the weapon that's selected is the right weapon for the job. You wouldn't take a pistol to a sniper mission. Some guys would carry a MP5 submachine gun. Some guys would carry an AK-47. It was up to the individual user's preference. They always carry a sidearm. It can be a Glock variant or a variant of an M1911 45 caliber.
In the early hours of December the 9th, the battle begins, with more bombardment of the Al-Qaeda positions. The Afghan Pashtun army, supported by American airstrikes, makes rapid advances. But as night falls, the CIA realizes it has a problem with their allies.
They'll go home to have dinner with their families, come back to the battlefield the next day. You have to win the same ground several times. The Afghans were not a disciplined force.
On December 10th, Fury receives intelligence that some enemy positions may be vulnerable to attack. He sends in a 3-man team of Delta Force fighters, codenamed Jackal, to test the strength of Al-Qaeda's front lines. It's a dangerous mission for these Americans and involves relying on 30 Afghan allies to support them if a firefight ensues. 2 hours into the mission, Fury receives some very good news.